I say with it because if it's in you, it's in you. Like there's no point of trying to push it down. It's in you, dude.
Welcome to Motion Matters, where we shine a light on the entrepreneurial journey, sharing real stories of triumph and challenge. Guided by Jamie Tilka, we connect, inspire, and educate. This is Motion Matters.
Hello and welcome to Motion Matters. This is the Entrepreneurial podcast where we talk about the trials and tribulations of entrepreneurship. Today, I have Ruben Garcia with us. He is deep into the real estate industry, has multiple other businesses, and asked him to come on the show so that he could share about his story and how he got there. So with that, Ruben, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, awesome. So as I typically do, I just would like to give you an opportunity to kind of open it up, talk about who you are, where you came from, and what led into you getting into entrepreneurship.
Yeah. So first I want to say thank you for even having me. And I want to say that if any of you haven't checked out my wife's podcast, go check it out. It's awesome. It's a killer podcast. A really good insight of like brand new into entrepreneurship.
Yep.
So if that's you, go back and listen to that podcast. So, I'll make it real quick. Been in Fayetteville, North Carolina since kindergarten.
Wow.
And I've always had kind of the entrepreneurial spirit. I got this one picture that I post all the time on Facebook. I'll say all the time, once a year on Facebook, where it's a picture of the house I was raised in. Mm-hmm. And I just talk about how you don't need much to start in business because, I don't know, I was 8 or 9 years old and I would sweep driveways to make money and sweeping dirt off driveways because we don't have snow or anything here. We got dirt.
Yep.
So I still found a path to make my own even at that age. And it's just kind of stuck with me ever since.
Yeah.
And then started at UPS at 18 years old. And, I thought that might have been what I was going to do. I was still doing like little entrepreneurial things here and there. Like I would buy bulk candy and I'd buy bulk, all of that. And I would undercut the vending machines at UPS and then sell it to all the drivers, especially summertime. Gatorade was flying out of my trunk and all that stuff. But I was there for about 12 years and figured that this probably isn't the path in terms of, for me at least, a family situation because you can call it quits during Christmas time. You're not going to be home as a UPS driver. And I was like, I got to make a change. And so that's what really started getting me to look more into real estate. It wasn't the love of real estate. I didn't know what a fascia board was. It had nothing to do with real estate. It was just a way out of my current situation, which was UPS.
Yep.
And then fast forward almost 10 years, I want to say, or right around 10 years of being in real estate and rocking and rolling.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
What year was that for you? Like, how old were you after you were at UPS for 12 years? Around 30?
Yeah. That's right.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, after talking again with your wife a little bit too, and she said you had a bunch of entrepreneurial endeavors, and we had met one time like 5 or 6 years ago when I was getting ready to kick off real estate, and I was still active duty trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Yeah. But all the things that you kind of cited are exact same reasons why I kicked it off.
Yep.
It was like it was a means to an end.
Yep.
And I was like, well, let's do this thing and get into it. So, but can you talk specifically a little bit more about that particular moment? Like, was there some type of significant event that happened in your life where you had your aha moment where you're like, I can't do this shit anymore?
Yeah. So I have my oldest. She's 18 now, but at the time I was raising her since she was 3 weeks old by myself. And, doing that for a while. And it just hit me again. It was like, man, I want to be more of a father. And in that world for me was just spend more time.
Yeah.
And again, being a driver, you're going to be away from that for a while. And I remember I started to interview essentially drivers for about 2 years. Like, what does life look like? What does home life look like? Are you able to see your kids? Are you able to go to soccer? It was more like is the return on the investment of myself going to be worth it if I ever jump? Yeah. And it seemed as if I just threw everything in, I was going to be fine. But I had to make that commitment of the jump, despite what other people told me, despite of the benefits, everything that comes with being at UPS. And I heard enough that family life wasn't amazing. They were being honest and say, most of us are tied to the dollar because you get paid pretty well.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's just not going to be me then.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm the sole provider at that time.
Yeah.
So that was my big aha. It wasn't necessarily me. It was for I just wanted to be there for my oldest.
Yeah. So you wanted to be home more.
Yep.
So the whole thing that I really love about doing the podcast is really sharing kind of some of the intricacies of those moments where you had to, because I think fear inhibits most people's desires to go after it.
Yeah.
And so when they hear your struggles, my struggles, other people's struggles, your wife's struggles, then it's like, okay, it's not insurmountable and I can do it. So one of the things that people struggle with, I find repeatedly, one of the top 3, if not the one, is being financially comfortable. And you kind of already alluded to that. What was the plan? Like, did you have a savings, or were you like, screw it, we're going to eat ramen and we're going to live with my mom? Like, I mean, what happened?
I was already eating ramen.
All right.
So that was, I was on welfare at the time.
Wow.
So I didn't have money like that, you know? And I never wanted to be on the welfare system. Matter of fact, every time I go to DSS, I would talk to my counselor and I'm like, you will not see me in here. It was different than what she said, at least what she told me, that she was used to people kind of working the system, you know, and getting what they need and staying under a certain amount of money that they would need in order to get the benefits and all the things. I was like, not me. I'm getting out of here. So in terms of the financial stuff, I decided that if I could save enough for 6 months in my bank account, if I could do 6 months, I'm going to quit. As soon as it hits that number, and what I mean by 6 months is the amount of money that's leaving the household every month times 6, you know, and that's what I was like, once that number hits that account, or once that number hits that number in the account, I'm jumping, I'm quitting. And I made that commitment to myself, and I had all the quotes taped around my house, you know, and I canceled cable. I started to change my mindset that I could actually do this. And then once it hit that number, I just put in my 2 weeks notice and jump. So I had enough for 6 months to survive.
Okay. So you did do some preparatory work before you jumped. No, that's obviously incredibly responsible. It's very smart.
Yeah. And it also built pressure, right? So it's like 6 months or you lose everything. Because when I bought the house at late 17, early 18, maybe I was 18. I don't even know if you could buy a house at 18. But you know, and my mom was the co-signer, but it was a VA foreclosure, didn't have all the cool things. We had to paint the walls. We used the oven for heat. I mean, it was that type of home, but I could lose it. I wasn't renting. I could lose the home if I didn't make something happen in the next 6 months. Who knows what, you know, DSS or the state would see that now a father can't take care of his oldest. So it was mad pressure, but I think there's a lot of benefit in that pressure.
So I'm going to dig in a little bit deeper. If you're not comfortable talking about it, we'll move on. No pressure.
Good. Is it going to help you? Then I'll go deeper.
Exactly. I think it will. And that's why I'm asking these questions. Because I would like to have questions asked at other people. We've all been in the room where it's like, anybody got any questions? And nobody wants to raise their hands. People are thinking shit, but they won't say it.
Yeah.
And so here's my question. I talk openly about the fact that I created a massive debt for us. I lived above my means, and we had literally hundreds of thousands of dollars. I had $127,000 in credit card debt.
Got it.
Was the reason why, because when I hear you working at UPS, my first thought process is, well, you must have been doing pretty decent, because to your point, it's a decent company. They probably pay relatively well, you know? So what caused that financial constraint on you in that moment?
So my mom was really good at saving money. So she taught me at an early age how to balance a checkbook. And so that did help me. But I was part-time for 12 years because at the time, UPS was a 10 to 12-year waiting list to go full-time.
Oh, wow.
Now they'll pull anyone off the streets because it's a hard job, and a lot of people don't even want it anymore. So they're pulling but when I first started, but everyone saw that as an investment. Like, okay, we'll struggle for a few years in order to go full-time, which I think at the time they were making about, don't kill me for this if it's wrong, but about $1,100 a week.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is nuts.
Yeah.
What? I could and plus benefits and all the things. So that was my goal. But I was part-time. I did as much as I could do, but you're not getting, I think when I first started, it was $8 an hour, and you're getting paid for, you're working 4 hours a day, you know? So I would do my best to get overtime. I would cut people's hair at work, and you know who you are. I would, you know, myself and one of the mechanics, we would collect the tinfoil left behind from drivers that balled up. You know, they ate something, they put it away, or maybe we had a cookout at UPS.
Yeah,
we would grab all that. We would grab cans because some of those drivers live off Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
And we would collect all that. And so I would also do that around UPS. We would store it at this mechanic's house. His name's Peyton. Shout out to Peyton. But we would split the profits at the end of the year 60-40. He would have 60% of the money because he stored it. He had to deal with ants and all the things.
Yeah.
But that's the money I would use for Christmas presents.
Got it.
Every single year. So UPS, although I got paid a certain amount, I still found ways to do my best to make money to kind of get us through the situation as an investment of time to ensure that I can go full time.
Yeah, I mean, I think now I understand the picture better. The bottom line is you were part-time and you were doing side hustles.
Yep.
And so those two just weren't cutting the mustard. And
No.
in order to be able to create the lifestyle that you were hoping to
Yeah.
and have progression.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. So then my follow-on question is, you mentioned briefly about turning to real estate, but what was the catalyst for that? Was
Yep.
somebody planted the seed, or did you stumble upon, a book, or like, I mean, how'd that happen?
It's a good question. So I started talking about like, man, I don't know if I want to do this, to friends at UPS. And they were like, you'd be a great salesperson. You're always selling us Gatorade and like burnt CDs and all the stuff that you could do back in the day. And I was like, okay, cool. So if I'm going to sell something, what's the biggest thing I can sell? And that's the only reason homes came. I was like, cell phones. Nah. Cars. Nah. Real estate. I can't do real estate. Let me see what it takes to get a 75-hour course and I don't need a college degree. Okay. So a lot of people do complain about the low barrier entry of people getting licensed.
Yeah.
For me, it was perfect though. That's what I needed. And that's what got me into it. I just figured that was the biggest thing that I could sell that hopefully would get me out of the situation faster.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to make a comment on what you said about the low barrier to entry.
Yeah.
I would say to anybody that says the low barrier to entry, I'd say, well, guess what? As you well know, the vast majority of people that become agents quit within the first 12 months. Why?
Yep.
Because you can maybe be able to get in easy by passing a test, but the job is hard.
Yeah.
If you don't have a sphere and you ain't willing to build a sphere, then it doesn't matter.
No.
It'd be like selling Gatorade with no customers. It's like, well, then who cares? Ain't nobody buying.
Yep.
So,
Yep. I think 88% of the agents leave the business in their second year.
yeah,
It's
it's
almost 90%.
insane. It's insane. I mean, I've only been in it for a little over 5 years, and I'm just like,
Well, you made it.
well, most of the people that I went to school with aren't selling. I think I
Right.
know 3,
Right. There you
maybe
go.
4. So that's cool. So you're all in on real estate. Then you go get your real estate license,
Yep.
and then what happened from there? You started being an agent.
Yep. So I was going to FTCC to take business classes at the time too. And there was somebody in class that had a real estate license, and now she's part of our team, which is a cool full circle. But prior to that, she was at Coldwell Banker, and I was like, that's going to be the spot for me. So, did what people do in real estate schools, formed a little group, started studying together, failed 2 or 3 times, but finally got it. And then once I got my license, then started at Coldwell Banker, and it was okay. It was okay. I really wasn't a fit for me, which not all firms are fit for everyone, of course.
Agreed.
And so I left in about 6 months, went to KW, hung out there, helped build a team, did well there, and then became the CEO of that office. And then we broke all-time records every month. And then I started a productivity coaching program out of that office and another office at KW, then left them. And then now I'm at my current firm and built a team here too. So it's as long as you apply yourself, I'm not the smartest dude. Let's just continue this conversation and you will find sooner or later. But as long as you apply yourself in a consistent manner, you'll be fine.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. I know that you're involved in real estate investing, and we're going to get to there. But to bridge the gap, my question is, did being a real estate agent bring you the financial relief you were looking for, or did it then cause you to dig deeper into investing because you needed additional?
That's a great question. Yeah, so I didn't even know investing was a thing. And I kick myself all the time, and I'm going to get back to that. I kick myself all the time. I drive by this neighborhood that I sold a home for $20,000 on the MLS. Because I was like, cool, I'll make a quick couple grand or whatever it was. And I drive by that almost every day, and I kick like, why did I not have that mindset? Because right now it would cash flow like crazy.
Yeah.
And I was just a different mindset. My circle was completely different at the time too.
Yep.
So going back, it did. And my goal was to, again, make about $1,000 a week. And if I could do that, then I could quit, because I was doing real estate going to school, single father, and working at UPS. So sleep wasn't even a thing, you know?
Yeah.
And I wrote on all the clocks in the house, time to get to work. So every time I looked at the clock, like, oh, what time it is, I'm tired. Doesn't matter.
Yep.
Get back to work.
Yep.
And that was the hustle. And I drilled this whiteboard in my bedroom, and it was just numbers. It was like, these are my goals. This is how many people I need to talk to every day. Did you actually do it? And that showed me that business there's no room for emotion. Numbers are the language of business, and you either did it or you didn't. You either failed today or you didn't. And so that looked at me every single day, man. And of course, I was able to pull it from there. So yeah, it got me out of my situation in 10 months. I was able to quit UPS.
Nice.
After that, I went full-time into real estate, and that's where I was like, oh, I'll have enough money. Can I do the real estate thing?
Yep.
And that helped me build up, obviously, the savings account. And then I quit UPS, went full-time into real estate. But investing came probably, honestly, 5 or 6 years later. My circle changed, and the circle was talking a lot more about investing, and I started getting excited about it, jumped on Bigger Pockets, and the rest is history. You know, the circle is still here, and now there's different conversations in the circle, but at the time when I first started the circle, it was sell homes, not invest in homes.
I know other people have different ways of kind of slicing it and stuff like that. But for me, the way that I've really kind of built this picture of trying to talk to younger people in order to be able to inspire them to get in investing, I basically say you need to have one of the four legs on a stool, on a four-legged stool. And I say you need to find a deal, you need to be the boots on the ground, you need to have credit worthiness, or you need to have the cash.
Yeah.
If you have all of them, great, you can do it by yourself. If you can't, it doesn't mean you can't get started.
Right.
So my question is, when you went into your first piece of real estate, was it solo or did you partner? Like, how did that get put together?
Yeah, so that same circle, they went partnership crazy.
Okay.
You know, they went partnership crazy. I mean, they got to 100 doors in 12 months.
Wow.
I mean, they blew up.
Wow.
And some of them you may have heard on Bigger Pockets. Then they got picked up by Bigger Pockets. They started doing videos around here for Bigger Pockets. It was crazy. But my wife and I have always, and we've been asked to partner, but we've always stayed in a position where we never partnered.
Okay.
So we've grown slower, but it's been a lot more stable because if you ask that same group, and they'll tell you they sold a lot off. They essentially grew too fast. They were like, doors is not the number of the doors is not the goal. It's the cash flow out of each door, and they limited it. Now they're cash flowing more with less doors and the whole thing. So ours is a little bit more steady growth. We've never partnered. But my first deal was that home, that VA foreclosure that I moved in at 18 years old.
Okay.
Yep. So that's one of our best Airbnbs right now. It is our best performing Airbnb at the moment. That was our first one.
So just to recap, make sure I'm picking up what you're laying down.
Yeah.
Your entrance into becoming a real estate investor was because you were in and around the people that were talking about it, but you decided rather than jumping in with them, let me come up with a more strategic long-term path on how my wife and I can do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's good.
Yeah, because you know, even when you got money, if you could get a lot more creative on how you can get past certain obstacles without throwing money at it, I think it's just gonna expand your brain a little bit more on the things that you can accomplish and help others accomplish as well. Because I think throwing money at things or partnering is, and this isn't going against anyone who does it, of course, but it's kind of an easy solution too. So what if you didn't have the money? How could you make this deal work? And we've come up with some pretty cool creative things with attorneys and lenders to make deals work that will not work in a traditional sense. Mm-hmm. It's where relationships come into factor and all the fun stuff. So
yeah, no, I concur with that 100% because our second deal ever, it was this property.
Hey.
And we got it by ourselves. Now, I obviously had to borrow money because this was way outside of my scope of purchasing.
Right.
But I'm just tying it to your point, which is I don't believe it would have happened. First of all, I believe divine intervention is what brought this deal to us. But aside from that,
right.
The relationship I built with the previous owner 100% is what got us the deal. Yep. It wasn't the money. That wasn't a problem for them. Yep. It was making sure that it went to the right people.
Yep.
That's what they really cared about.
Yeah.
And so in that case, relationships matter. And I was struggling with how do I put something together when I have little to nothing?
Yeah.
You know?
But that's everything. I mean, that's being a brand new parent. You're like, how do I do this? I've never done this before. And now responsible for a human life. Like that's just everything, including investing. You're going to fail forward a lot.
Yeah.
But the point is just to get started and screw up, get started, screw up, get started, screw up. That's the point. And then you're going to learn a lot from that. And then your circle's going to change and you'll pull out of that. You'll do really good at that. And then you move on to the next thing with a little bit more knowledge and a better circle.
I want to bookmark where we're at because I want to jump back. You've mentioned it twice, and it reminded me that I wanted to ask you this question.
Yeah.
So you got your first place when you were 18.
Yeah.
Like I did something similar. It was a trailer. But how did you get the house?
Yeah. So my mom co-signed for me.
That's right. You did say that. Okay.
So I couldn't do it, obviously. And I moved in with one of my buddies that I've known since second grade here in Fayetteville.
What made you want to get the house? Because
I wanted out of living with, love my mom, but I wanted out. I just wanted my own freedom. And honestly, my mom wasn't having it. It's like, oh, you're about to turn 18, figure this out. She's very, very strict. She's Irish and German. So she's like, you're becoming a man. Go figure it out yourself.
Why not rent though? I think that's the question I'm trying to get to.
I think it was cheap, right? Like at that time, that home was $32,000.
Dude, what year is this? Tell me.
03 or 4.
Man.
Yep. Yeah, dude. But let me tell you, man. And so I'm not a smoker, right? And so the walls were yellow.
Yeah.
No heat. Our ceiling fell in while we were just hanging out. Okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't in good shape. It was a foreclosure.
Yeah.
Buy as is. But we were 18 and we were like, so what?
Yeah.
And again, moving with myself and my buddy, we were able to afford what mortgage was $300 a month. So,
oh man, it's just anyway.
Which is why it's a great performing property to this day.
Yes. And what's crazy, like you talk about driving by that house and thinking, I missed that opportunity. Yeah. I'm listening to your story. In 2003, I showed up here in 2001 to go through the Special Forces training thing. Mm-hmm. Real estate didn't even cross my mind. Never. That's why I was so interested in why it crossed your mind at 18. But now I'm listening to your story and I'm like, shoulda, coulda, woulda. Like, what if I had bought a place in 2001 when I moved here? You got a foreclosure, but I probably could have got a house for what, $80,000? Oh
yeah. So when I moved over to KW and I was helping that team build a team, the average sales price was $150 at the time.
Man.
And that was, 10 years ago. So reverse another 10, 15, 20 years. Imagine what the average sales price was.
70, 80K.
Yeah, exactly. So,
insane.
Real estate's always, for us, we look at real estate for a lot of reasons why we look at real estate. But one of the main reasons, it's a great bank account. It's a great way to store your cash because of all the benefits that come with it. It's way better than a bank account.
So I don't want to deviate too far off of this, but when you just say that, it's one of my revelations with becoming involved in real estate because I was fiscally irresponsible and blew all my money. Reflecting back, I'm like, one of the things that I love about real estate is the money's in there and you can't just grab it.
Yeah,
it's not a piggy bank on your thing where you're like, I'm going to buy this new Xbox game. You have to work to get the money out. So it's going to cause you a little bit of apprehension to, am I willing to go through that? So I love that you're emphasizing the fact that it's like a piggy bank.
Yep. It is. I mean, and I know this is simple, but once you do that, you can write off depreciation, you can write off all the expenses that you've upfit that property for. It's cash flows at higher rate than if your money was just sitting somewhere else, and the asset grows instead of a bank account in terms of equity.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's crazy how many folds of benefit there is. It doesn't make any sense. I'm not a financial advisor to put your money in anything else, really, at least for my world. Other worlds have figured it out and they're billionaires, but for our world, it just makes the best sense.
Well, I say something similar, but what I tell people is I say, in my humble opinion, it's arguably the safest place to build long-term wealth because it's virtually impossible to fail. And like even my daughter who's sitting over there running the computer right now while we're talking, she's starting to get into stocks because we're just trying to explain to her and show her what it's like. But she brought up the other day about wanting to take some out and put some back in. And I said, I'm like, getting involved in day trading is scary, man, because I said there's very few people that succeed. It's about the long-term, money that you make over there. But
anyway. Is it her money? Is it your money? Well, I'm not, but I would say let her. Let her fail in that or win. But I'm just saying there's a lot of benefit in failing. If
Agreed.
not, if she never pulls that trigger, then she's always going to wonder what if. You know, pain, they say people move faster away from pain than they do when they want to move towards pleasure, right?
Yep.
So they always move faster against pain.
Yeah.
So pain, you're going to learn a lot more in. And not saying you're going to fail. You may kill it. You may crush it. But if it's some of the, oh man, it's scary. And I go back to, that's what I was told when I got my license. Don't do it. The market's flooded with agents. How are you going to do that? Go to school. Are you that good of a father where now you're going to do this too? You're gonna, like it all. But I just went against everyone. I was me, myself, and I believed in myself. And plus like Napoleon Hill and everyone you can listen on YouTube. But I just went, and did I fail? Yeah. Yeah, I screwed up.
Yeah.
A lot. I almost lost my license my first year.
Yeah.
But from that, I learned to pivot and was able to put a new set of skills and some type of barrier of risk. And I think that only comes when you actually go in there in the deep end sometimes.
Yeah. No, I'm going to jump off that because one of my other analogies, I say jump in the deep end with no floaties, which is basically what you're suggesting, which is...
Because I tried Forex. Did you know what Forex is?
No, I don't think so.
All right, so it's trading currencies against other currencies.
Yeah.
I lost all kinds of money. I'm never doing that again. But I'm glad I tried that. But what did I learn from it? Supply and demand.
Yeah.
And that you can actually see supply and demand happening. And so I used that and moved it into a different sector. But I don't know, man.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I agree with letting people fail because of all the reasons why you said. And I think that inside the military also was a lesson that I learned. I think it's right. I don't want to get too deep in that. Okay.
Sorry.
So no. I'm just trying to make sure because I go off on tangents and I'm trying to keep my mind straight. Yeah.
It's for you.
You transitioned over, you had your property that you bought when you were 18. And then when did the second property come on board?
So that's funny. Because, I became a real estate agent and then I was taking my oldest to elementary school. And I saw this pretty hot teacher and I was like, yo, let's go out. She was like, yo, no, rejection. Until finally this woman needed to buy a home. And she was like, listen, I got to buy a home. I was like, I'm the one. So end up helping her buy a home super cheap. I don't want to get this wrong, but I think it was in the 80s.
Okay.
Top 80s, 89,000 maybe. 3-bedroom, 1 bath. And help her buy the home. Super professional. But once it closed, I was like, go on that date. Anyways, it all hit off and I got married to her and you interviewed her on the podcast. So that was our second property, was the one that she bought.
Okay.
Yep. And which is another one of our Airbnbs and it's our second best performing property. So
nice.
Yeah. It's the Lexington farmhouse, if you ever see that. But yeah, so now we use that one and that's our second. So if you notice, what I did was just live.
Yep.
And then once we quote unquote outgrew the home for whatever reason, we didn't sell. We just held them all.
Yeah.
And when you see these soldiers who are PCSing, it's a great thing to look at. Like, should I sell the home when I PCS or should I hold it? I reached out to one of our clients and I was like, yo, happy 4th year anniversary of us selling your home. He was like, don't remind me. He was like, I wish I would have kept it. And that's a way that we all could invest by just living. Yeah. And that's what we've done and it's worked out.
That's one of my top soapbox issues because I did serve. I'm very, very passionate about helping. I'll help anybody, but particularly younger military people understanding if you only did one action, which is to sell or to buy a property at every duty assignment.
Yep.
I said you would be at least, by rough conservative estimates, $2.5 to $5 million of net worth that you could sell off by the time you're 55 to 60.
Yep.
And I said, but the problem is the military gives you your BAH and you think that's yours. And this is where I piss people off. And in fact, some people will probably shoot me on this, on social media is I say the BAH money's not yours. And they're like, yes, it is. And I'm like, no, it's not. And I said, let me define to you why it's not your money. If you go stay on base housing, who gets the money? I'm like, they do. And they take 100% of it. So what I'm saying is they're just giving it to you to give it right back to them. Or you can take that money and then use that to purchase your own house and build generational wealth for you and your family. Yeah. So I didn't mean to digress, but this is a massive personal thing for me. Yeah. And so we have 5 kids, 3 of them all own real estate. My son just purchased his third house like 2 months ago, and they're in the military as well. Mm-hmm. And so I'm a huge advocate for what you're saying is live life.
Yeah.
And then I did not do that, which is why, and I'm not saying this is the right move for people, but for me, because I'm old, I was like, it's all chips on black 7. I don't have 20 to 30 to 40 years. How am I going to catch up? That was my mindset. And so I went in on 12 units, and then we went to 9 and then 12. So I'm not saying it's right. It was dangerous and made mistakes, but I just felt like I needed to move fast because I took too long to get started.
Pressure's good. I was thinking about this. I went to the gym this morning, and I was thinking, man, stress is so good. Like, our world is told, don't, if you have stress, make sure you go talk to someone. If you have stress, here's a pill. If you have stress, be careful of stress, and not saying that stress is 100% amazing for you, but there is definitely a huge benefit to stress of time. And I'm going to run out. And look how much you were able to accomplish in such a short amount of time because of stress. Look what we were able to do in a short amount of time because of stress. So I'm a big benefit for stress. Maybe I need to put that on a t-shirt or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another sidebar. Okay, so you got house number 2. You get married. You're with Mrs. Garcia.
Yep.
And then you guys ended up going, and you got a third one then.
Yep. So the third property, man, I want to say is the one we're in now, but we only bought it because we knew it'd be a great rental. Mm-hmm. And that's another thing about risk. And I'm going to go right into the investing right after that. I was the CEO of the local Keller Williams, and I decided to grow the productivity coaching program. They told me it would fail. I was like, watch me. So I left that position and went to a 100% commission-based position, which was the productivity coaching program. And my wife Amanda was pregnant. And I was like, hey, babe, I'm going to buy, while we're buying this other home and you're pregnant, I'm going to get off a salary and go 100% commission and see if I can build something that's never been built before in this office. And she was like, you always make it work.
Yep.
And so that was pressure to make something work. So that's another tip of the hat to the pressure thing and stress. But that, I want to say that was the next home. It's a great property. Equity grew in it. We knew it'd be a great property for rental. But in terms of the other ones that we've purchased, that was just asking people that we know, like, hey, who do you know looking to sell a home that is going to be off market, that you don't want a real estate agent to get involved, ugly, whatever. The same conversation wholesalers have.
Yep.
And we were able to get, man, I don't remember which one's the next one, but I want to say it was the neighborhood across from the one that I purchased at 18.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So that one was a 3-bed, 1-bath, gross, roaches, ticks, or fleas, disgusting.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. So we purchased that from a friend at UPS and got creative on that for the financing for $50,000 from a lender. No one would touch it because it was a low-cost loan except for this one lender. So thank you. And we were to make that work. And then we had to pay the attorney outside of closing. It was a whole thing, but we were able to make it work. And that one does well. Used to be an Airbnb, had to take it off the market. Numbers are no longer good. It's now a long-term rental, and we have a renter in there.
That's awesome, man. I love that. I want to ask you a question because we've gotten deep into it, and I'm curious what your perspective is. So you talked about your coaching program. Mm-hmm. Did you have any type of mentorship when you were coming up through this?
For the coaching side?
Like just from the time that you kind of made your decision to leave UPS and then getting into the real estate, did you have any kind of coaching mentorship or did you just Okay.
No. And so this is one of my pet peeves is like, man, I don't have anyone like this around me. It's like, whatever, right? Like, I don't want to hear that because neither did I. My circle was different. Although there were some people at UPS and we would talk about stocks and stuff, but there wasn't like a mentorship of leave UPS, create a brand new business, and then flourish. Like, what is that? Doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
So what did I do? I went to the internet and started consuming Gary Vee at the time, a lot of Gary Vee, a lot of Napoleon Hill, Patrick Bet-David before he made it huge. I mean, his old videos. And I surrounded myself with those thinkers. Yeah. And so when I woke up, I didn't listen to music. I started to realize how much music influences you. Mm-hmm. And I allowed myself to listen to them and books. And so I did. I had great mentors. Some were dead, some were alive. and they were from the internet, but they were surrounding me every single day. Grant Cardone, before he's crazy, but back in the day, that 10X book and a couple other books were huge influences for me. I needed to hear something I've never heard before for me to do things I've never done before. And anyone can surround themselves with those people. It's free.
Yeah.
So I don't want to hear that you don't have that influence. You have the internet. I guarantee you're scrolling right now. How about scrolling to someone who's going to help you in the next venture you want to move into?
Yeah. I think there is tons of similarities between your story and mine. Mine was the same way. I mean, I do have mentors. I'm in a mentorship program now because I wanted to elevate the circle that I was around, because I wanted to see what other people are doing and build relationships and stuff. Yeah. But initially, it was all just about consuming as much information as I possibly could. Yeah. When I first dropped the seed in my head of really trying to get involved, I was still in Okinawa, Japan. And so that's when I first started listening to Bigger Pockets, and I just started watching every episode. Yeah. Listening to every episode.
How much did that cost?
Oh, nothing at the time. Yeah.
So no excuses.
Right. No.
I don't want to, and I'm saying but for anybody watching, there's literally no excuse.
I'm saying yes, I 100% agree. So the second part is, what's your thoughts on mentorship now? Meaning to say, like, do you encourage it or not encourage it? Like, as far I know, so we're talking about, like you said, through other educational means, but as far as like having an actual mentor,
huge. I think it's everything, because I don't think it's just a business thing, right? Like, if you know somebody who has a great marriage, talk to them. Yeah. If you know somebody who's a great father, a great mother, talk to them. I mean, we're all trying to learn this thing we call life. Yeah. And there's people who are figuring it out faster, even if it's a year faster than you, 6 months. There's a lot that you could pull from that. And I always said it a few times. I don't always say this. But you know, the secret to success is R&D, copying what someone else has done, and then later sprinkling your little jam on it or your flavor on it. But not from the beginning. Don't try to. Someone has already done it. They say success leaves clues, and that's what mentorship is. Just pick up the clues, add your little flavor, you know, and you'll be fine. People will relate to you because of the flavor you've added, but the cornerstone and the foundation to it all, someone's already figured it out.
Yeah. So that's great advice, man. That's great advice. Speaking of that's great advice. My last kind of question before we kind of
land the plane.
Yeah, land the plane. Thank you. My brain just completely went.
No, you're good.
Where are you at today? Like, what's a day in a life look for you today?
Yeah, I was supposed to have another business owner shadow me today. Actually this week. And so for anybody who's local that may want to see what the day, because I can say it here, but then when you're in it, it's like, golly, like it's a lot. And
agreed.
Yeah. And I welcome that, you know, if you want to do that. That being said, you know, today I'll say this, I'm very, very structured with my calendar, extremely structured, almost to a fault. And it turns some people off. However, every morning I wake up at 4:30. I do what I call my Corvette or my CVET. I'm an acronym freak, so military town, you know, I guess the guy. So I look at my calendar, CVET, CVETT, calendar. I check my voicemail in case I miss anything, email in case I miss anything, text message in case I miss anything. And only reply to what they call the 20% or the things that are going to move the needle forward. The other 80%, don't worry about it. And then I do the last T, which is task. So I go into my database and I start reaching out to my warm leads. I start setting it up. I don't reach out to them just yet. That lasts till about 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock, I turn on the light to my youngest, her bedroom. 6:15, I get her up. Then her and I read a book together. We do our Garcia values. We have our own value system. She has to work out and she has to do her morning chores before she's allowed to eat breakfast. So then she eats breakfast. I put together not too heavy blueberries, a sweet potato, and a banana. And then after that, 7:30-ish. And while I'm doing that, my wife is at the gym. So then she comes back around 7. But at 7:30 is my time to roll out. So I roll out around 7:30. I go to the gym. And I start my appointments around 11. So, except this one, because you're awesome. I was like, got to pull it back a little bit.
Oh, thank you.
You got it. So today I think I woke up at 4:15. So a little bit earlier. But 11 o'clock, I start my appointments. And then I want them to end around 2 or 2:30. So if you really look at the working in the business, it's only a few hours, 3 hours a day. Yep. So it's highly intense. I work on the business in the morning. And then that stops. And then I practice jujitsu with my daughter, my youngest, at 3. And then 3:30 we head out to go do her jujitsu stuff. And then it's family time from there.
Nice.
Yeah. And it looks like that 98% of the time.
Yeah. I'm not that disciplined. I'm trying to get there. I'm a little bit scatterbrained. But that's because, and I definitely won't deviate into this, but I've said openly during other podcasts that I've recorded is that I took on way too much too fast. So we're just in a season right now where we're divesting and shit. And I'm trying to get it down to where it's a manageable thing.
Yeah.
You know, trying to run 8 businesses in 15 entities is absolutely absurd. I have no idea why I thought that was possible, but I did. And so I'm trying to fix it. So kudos to you. That's really cool.
Well, and look where, this is 10 years.
Yeah.
So it didn't happen overnight. And you better believe, and ask my wife if she ever comes back on, how long did it take to settle the ship? Because it just started hitting us from every angle. There's a valley of despair that happens. And it takes a minute to kind of level everything. So it's good that you recognize it and good that you're doing it, but it doesn't happen overnight. It's a long game.
Well, when she was here, she mentioned to you after we were off camera, or maybe it was on camera. I can't remember, but she said that you were a serial entrepreneur. And so that obviously resonated with me because I explained this to my wife. I said, I can't turn it off. I don't know. Like, I'd be lying to you if I did said that all of a sudden something pops in my head and then I'm going like 16 layers deep on how does that come to fruition?
Yeah.
And then if I start to put the pieces together, it becomes exciting to me. And then I start to want to do it. And then, and so it's trying to maintain some self-discipline on going after all these, I'll just call it shiny objects that, because that's what people say.
Yeah. So something that helped, and I don't know if this helps you out. Something that helped me out is I run it all through a filter. So my filter is, and my people know this, everybody like, I know exactly where he's going, but it's very morbid, meaning if I die or when I die, and it could be today, I could pull out of here and get slammed by a vehicle and I'm gone.
Right.
And that can happen to anybody at any time.
Yeah.
And if this new venture I'm looking at runs through this filter in terms of it doesn't really need me, just needs maybe my first application, but it's a business that can run without me, and the cash flow is going to show up with or without me, and the business can run with or without me. So very extremely low overhead, if any, and extremely low liability, if any. And I run everything through that filter. And if it fits that bill, then we're going to roll into it. So there's a lot of shiny things, but to have a filter to run it through has been extremely important for us. And then having a real conversation. We do what we call State of the Marriage every month, where we discuss what I want, what she wants, what we both want together. And that's good times to bring up stuff like this, and then how you both can work with it. And I say with it because if it's in you, it's in you. Like, there's no point of trying to push it down. It's in you, dude.
Yeah.
For me, it's always been in me too. And like when we go on vacations, my wife knows I like to set at least one appointment with somebody there. I want to talk to an agent. I want to talk to a business. I want to know that I progressed today somehow.
Yeah.
And she's cool with it.
Yeah.
But we've talked about it. And once I get my little itch, I can enjoy. But there's something about enjoying waking up and not doing anything it bothers me. But I've learned to live with it. And the people around me understand that that's what it is too. But you got to have that open conversation. So run everything through a filter and be very real with the people that you love and work with it.
I was smiling when you were talking because I also mentioned spirituality for me. So I'm not trying to get super deep into it right now.
Sure.
All I'll just simply say to you is that I literally said what you just said this morning.
Yeah.
And so for me, I feel you're here today and you said what you just said, man.
I literally floated in here. We didn't get that on camera, but I floated it in.
No, brother. Listen, I'm serious because we have our morning time that we have together, a coffee before our daughter gets up, and the question was proposed because again, our stress right now is the fact that I'm trying to divest, and when is that going to happen? How long is it going to take? What are we doing? What measures are we taking today to clean this shit up, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I told her, not exactly the way you said it, but I said, all I'm telling you is that I know that I'm the vision guy. I'm very good at that.
Yep.
And I don't want to be the operations dude anymore.
Right.
And I just said, if there's a business concept or ones that we're deciding which ones are we closing down and which ones are we maintaining, if it involves me being the grinder every single day, then the answer is I'm not interested.
Right. Yep.
I'm done with it.
Yeah.
And I said, that's my filter, as you put.
Yeah.
So hearing you say that just is super validating for me right now on a personal level. So I appreciate you sharing that.
You're welcome.
And then
I may have a business venture for you then.
Yeah.
Later.
Let's talk. And then I just on the spouse thing, because I think that's another topic that we could probably do a whole separate podcast on alone, right? The struggles of maintaining balance within your relationship in conjunction with. And so I like that you shared what you just shared, because I think that we do that, but it's not structured. And I think the way that you kind of talked about it is more structured. So therefore, it's like the whole Scrum concept, right? You're going to have more productive from less application or from time invested, because it's, you have a very specific intent that you're going at with the conversation that you're having when you're doing the state of the marriage.
Yep. Have you ever read the book 5 Dysfunctions of a Team?
No, but I do know that book.
Got to listen to it. Buy it. I wish I had an affiliate code so I could pass it. But it's an amazing book. And one of the things it talks about is trust. Trust is important to any team, the whole thing. And I say that because you have to be, as you move up this structure, you have to be okay with conflict. But you're only okay with conflict if there's trust. And so just know, if you go into a state of the marriage or state of the relationship, depending on whoever's watching, there's going to be conflict. But that's okay. That's okay. You both got to work through it. It's not a date night. Lovey-dovey, love you too. This is a business, quote unquote, meeting about life.
Yeah.
And so there will be conflict. You're not going to see eye to eye. But that needs to come out now versus 5 years down the road, because they've been eating on it for 5 years and then they blow up.
Amen.
So it's like in every month. I kind of look at it like this thing. If you can imagine a bowling ball going down an alley, right? And the bumpers are stopping it from hitting the gutter. That meeting is the bumpers. So your relationship doesn't go in the gutter. You're constantly staying in management of expectations and vision and all the things, so you can strike.
Yeah.
No,
I love it, man. Thanks for sharing that.
Of course.
You kind of lined up what the day in the life is. So for everybody listening, tell us about what your business is that you're running, because it sounds like there's multiple aspects of that.
Yeah. So I do what I call real estate CIA.
Okay.
Another acronym, right? C is for consulting or coaching. So that's firms. That's whole firms or just agents or teams. The I is investing. So we do short-term rentals, long-term rentals, and we have an RV rental too, which is one of the businesses. And then the A is the agent side of the business, where I have a team, a local team, but also just a worldwide team. We're international at this point, about 250 agents.
Wow.
Selling real estate, closed over 1,000 homes. I remember the number last year. So that's operating too. And then, so that's the real estate CIA. And then our second one is let's just say the second income producer, the best is the investing, the short-term rentals, long-term rentals. Third is the Carolina Traveling Marshmallow. If anybody wants to check that out, it's our RV rental. I don't know where it's at right now, actually, but someone's got it. They're going to have it for another week and some change. So that one's pretty cool. And then we also do payment processing. So if you start to hear it, it starts to go through that filter. So payment processing, we're helping out businesses save on fees every time someone swipes the card. Partner with a company that does that. And we're bringing on, obviously, local businesses first. I want to help out the community first. They've been doing it forever and ever, but I was like, let's partner on this.
Mm-hmm.
So we do payment processing. And then this new venture that we could talk about later, it's not released yet. It releases in August, a brand new business, new concept, decentralized commerce, basically. And I'm working on that at the moment too.
So how can people get in touch with you though? What platforms? How do you want people to reach out to you?
Proven by Reuben on everything. So TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Lemon8 is a social media platform I'm on that I heard someone say get on that. So I'm on that. If you're on it, cool. I don't know anyone else who is.
I've never heard of it, but I'm going to check it out today.
But it's all Proven by Reuben.
Okay.
So just hit me up and let me know what you got out of this and the one thing you're going to actually apply.
Yeah.
If you DM me or if it's a comment, just let me know the one thing you're going to apply when you reach out.
I'm super grateful and thankful that you came on the show today. Appreciate you sharing all your insight. My hope, as always, is that somebody's going to hear your story and it's going to inspire them. It's going to want them to connect with people and take action and start their entrepreneurial journey. So thanks for, being raw and open about all the stuff you've been through to get
man.
where you are today, man.
Yeah. And if you watch my stories, it's raw every day. So it doesn't stop here if anybody wants to watch it. But I appreciate it too, man. And go back and watch my wife's episode. It's a really good episode.
I love that you're plugging that. So
yeah,
good.
man. I loved it. I enjoyed it. So, yeah, thanks, man. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
you have a great day, man.
You too.
All right.
Adios.
Bye.
Bye.